call the roll.
Alderman Santi,
Here.
Alderman Glad,
Here.
Alderman McClatchy.
Here.
Alderman Harding.
Here.
Alderman Strack.
Here.
Alderman Devine.
Here.
Alderman Miller.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item on the agenda will be public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak on behalf of public comment? This is for items that are not on the agenda this evening. If you would like to do so, please step up to the podium. Last opportunity for public comment. All right, moving on to consent agenda items 5A through 5C. Any items being pulled for separate consideration by City Council? Alderman Mahavik, jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Come from?
I don't know. Oh, my gosh.
I,
Mahavik, where's...
It's over there.
Yeah, right? Sorry.
It's okay. Anyways, if there's nothing to be pulled, I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Alderman Strack. Any comments regarding these items by council? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman McClatchy.
Yes.
Alderman Strack.
Yes.
Alderman Santi.
Yes.
Alderman Glad.
Yes.
Alderman Harding.
Yes.
Alderman Devine.
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is 6A, is Economic Incentive Agreement. This is regarding Munson Ski and Marine. I am looking for a motion to approve an Economic Incentive Agreement between the City of McHenry and Munson Ski and Marine for an amount not to exceed $500,000 or 20 years, whichever occurs first, to be provided as a 50-50 share of the 1% base sales tax received from the eligible retail sales.
I didn't write
I know, but do you want to say anything about this, or just move on? Okay,
We've said enough over the months.
perfect. All right, so I'm looking for a motion to approve. Alderman Strack,
Motion is presented.
thank you. Alderman Miller,
I'll second.
thank you. Discussion by City Council on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to open it up for public comment.
Wait, Dean.
Alderman Glad?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring out the fact that, and I've already just verified it, we do not get any city sales tax off of, boat sales. Just like we don't for automobiles. So it's pretty much standard like what we have with Gary Lang.
Correct. All right. Open it up for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a public comment regarding this item? See none? Going back to City Council. No comments. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Strack.
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Devine.
Yes.
Alderman Harding.
Yes.
Alderman McClatchy.
Yes.
Alderman Glad.
Yes.
Alderman Santi.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Next item on the agenda is 6B, is a budget amendment ordinance and approval of a facade grant at 1252 North Green Street. I'm looking for a motion to approve an ordinance amending the fiscal year 22-23 budget in the amount of $30,000 and a facade grant application in the amount of $30,000 for the property located at 1252 North Green Street. Director Martin, would you like to present this item?
Thank you, Mayor Jett. This is an application for a facade grant for the property at 1252 North Green Street. Work has been being done on the south facade, the west facade, and the east facades. As you can see, the pictures before and after. I had spoken with the owner of the property when they were purchasing the property, and they had asked about the facade grant, and the program was not yet established. I knew they would be going ahead with the work, so that was not a surprise to me. As you can see, they're not completed yet, but it's turned out beautifully. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Doug. I am looking for a motion to approve 6B as presented. Alderman McClatchy?
I would move that we approve the facade grant, and I've got a question also.
Thank you. Second? Alderman?
I will
Okay.
second it, and I also have a question, but I will adhere to Alderman McClatchy first.
All right, go ahead, Alderman McClatchy.
Doug, is there any, start time when they're gonna open up, or where they're at?
I don't know for sure. It's gonna be a little bit, do you have any idea, Ross?
So, they were having some problems with finding contractors to do some work, but we're currently working with them as a building department on, getting building permits and figuring out how they can start to move forward.
Coffee shop.
It's gonna be a combination of different things. I don't know if, the petitioners are here.
Are they?
I don't know if they wanna,
Okay.
I don't have any building plans right now. We gave them a permit to put the windows and stuff in, and that was all, permitted.
Okay.
But I have nothing for the inside yet, so I'm not 100% certain.
I get asked every once in a while. and
Right.
I
It's a
think
common
it's gonna be
question
a
right
coffee shop. Okay. Thanks.
Alderman Santee, go ahead.
No, I'll kind of expand on that question. Do we have any idea of what, and I don't want to put you, in a position, if you're comfortable coming up to the podium to present or have any information in regards to what you're planning on putting into the building?
Not really at this time.
Okay.
We will though.
All right. No, thank you. That's all I have.
Alderman Strack?
If I could just ask Ross, I guess, is the initial question here. Since we don't know what is going to be there, will this be a tax-generating revenue stream for the city as we're looking at this grant improvement and some of these items?
Well, I don't know exactly what's going in there, but the conversations that we've had, it would be, yes, a tax producing. It was restaurant-style businesses, among some other things. It's a big building, so I will also tell you that if council recalls, we had to do an agreement with the former owner of that building for the use of the park because there was a required exit into that park. So next meeting, a similar agreement will be coming forward for this property owner as well, and some use of the park as well.
Thank you. I'm assuming that that's why some of the fellow council members are asking that question. So, thank you for clarifying.
Well, good question.
Alderman Glad?
Yeah, I just want to bring out the fact that facade grants, are not basically set, for economic development. Facade grants are there to, again, improve the sites and the looks of our downtown area and the older buildings and to uplift them. It's not, I don't think we should be looking at what kind of revenue they generate. I mean, granted, it's great to know that, but, the facade grant isn't there because of economic development. It's there to develop, a better look of the whole downtown area. But with that, also, I want to bring up the fact that, again, we're looking for another, budget amendment. We're going to give out facade grants, once we replenish it for the year. We should be looking at, rebudgeting it for the following year and not, keep amending it to give out money. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments by council? Open up for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a public comment regarding 6B? See none? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman McClatchy?
Yes?
Alderman Santee?
Yes.
Alderman Glad?
No.
Alderman Harding?
Yes.
Alderman Stratt?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Appreciate you investing in McHenry. Thank you. 6C is a conditional use permit for outdoor storage at 4102 West Crystal Lake Road. Motion to approve an ordinance granting a conditional use permit for outdoor storage in conjunction with a contractor's office at 4102 West Crystal Lake Road. Director Palaraki?
Thank you, Mayor. The petitioner is requesting approval of a conditional use permit for outdoor storage in conjunction with the contractor's office at 4102 Crystal Lake Road. This petition did go through the Planning and Zoning Board and received a unanimous recommendation to the City Council. At that public hearing, there was one individual who spoke with a few concerns. That's what this little piece of paper is in front of you. I wanted to make certain that you all receive this, and the concerns are of the site vision triangle, or basically the site down Crystal Lake Road. The petitioner in the contractor's office will be utilizing larger trucks with guardrails and signs on those trucks. The neighbor to the south had concerns that those trucks would be parked and rightfully so, in the right-of-way area and impede the vision of oncoming traffic from clients that were leaving the neighbor's property. So we have talked with the petitioner. He has no intentions of parking any trucks up in front of there, so staff is happy with that. He is fencing the entire rear yard in just for the purpose of parking his trucks for security reasons. So again, we don't have any issues. We believe that he will not be parking his larger trucks in this area. Other than that, if council has any questions, I'm here, and then the petitioner is also here.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve 6C as presented. Alderman Strack?
Motion as presented.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Harding?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion and comments by council? Alderman Glab?
Yeah, I would just, is there any way, I guess I'd direct this to Attorney McCardle, as far as putting any conditions as far as actual, in the motion or whatever, that a certain distance from the street that no large vehicles could be parked or anything, to something with that kind of language
On the property?
on that property?
Yes.
And I'm just looking at, the petitioner may have all well and good, but, let's say 5 years from now, he decides to sell the property and somebody else has a different view on it. If we've got something there that states that, it can't be, parked up that close, then at least we've got something, as far as teeth. But irregardless of what the petitioner, we should be looking at, the entire, life of, the conditional use. Also, the question I had was, and Ross, you probably know this more than anybody else, but the shrubbery that's, along that property line, is that all gonna remain there, with the fence that's going up?
So a couple of things with that, and I just spoke to the petitioner tonight. Yes, we required a tree survey to be done. All the mature and decent trees will remain. The fence will be moved into the property to make sure that that tree line is preserved. And additionally, the property to the north has a very dilapidated chain link rusted out fence right now. The petitioner is working with that property owner and has approval to remove that fence and replace it with his new fence. So they're cleaning up the property in both ways.
Yes. I'm just looking at the fact that you've got Fort McHenry over there, and there's the sight line.
Right.
I mean, granted, anything that's done over there is going to be an improvement, but we'd still rather not be just looking at a
100%.
solid fence. So, okay.
And the petitioner also has no desire to use the property on 120 that fronts 120. So he's weighing his options with that. He's only going to be using the part at the bottom of the hill off of Crystal Lake Road. And then if I can just add to what Andy or Alderman Glab had said about the conditions, that condition was discussed at Planning and Zoning. The Planning and Zoning Board decided not to put that condition on because really it had nothing to do with the conditional use permit ask. It was outside. It doesn't have anything to do with outside storage. Any business is allowed to have trucks there. So they didn't feel that it was part of the conditional use, so they didn't want to put the restriction on it.
Did you, is it the intent of the petitioner, if you know, to have it extend beyond their life, or is it limited to just their use?
Well, it runs with the property.
Is that the intention, or don't they didn't use those words. Is that their intent?
I get, that's how our ordinance reads.
Can I ask them?
Yeah.
Who's the
Hey,
petitioner?
Dan, can you step up to the podium?
Please state your name and address for public record.
Dan Dazzle, it's 25.
It's just
We can hear you better. There you go.
Oh, you hear me?
Yeah.
2584 Bay Oaks Drive, Lakemore, Illinois.
And you're moving a business here from another place?
Yes.
And what kind of business is it?
Basically, it's guardrails and signs.
So you haul those on trucks?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you been in business?
22 years.
And everything you have is moving from one location to this location?
No, sir. We're going to maintain the location we're at.
Oh.
We've kind of grown out of that,
It's a supplemental,
so we need, additional space, and that's
Okay.
why we're moving into this space.
and you're gonna own this property?
Yes,
Okay, and is it your intention that when you move on in life and do something else, that you're going to sell this and with this property, or is it gonna end with you? Or don't you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it's gonna stay with the business. You know, we're gonna continue to work out of here. In the future, it may be that we move everything over to this location, and we may need to keep, both locations. We have a location in Johnsburg right now, that we've kind of outgrown, and we need more, space, so this kind of fits the, bill for our outside storage and moving our office to there. It's a little bit better, setup building
Okay.
than what our office is right
Thank you.
now.
Thank you.
Alderman Strack, go ahead.
Ross, with the site triangle question in play, is that in our ordinance that way? Or would we be able to, if there was an issue with site triangle in that parking area, could we enforce something on the books now?
We could enforce it, yes, but really the issue is that the site triangle is incorporated on the property to the south. None of that triangle touches the petitioner's property. So it's more of, you know, the curve in the road. I mean, it's roughly 400 feet from the driveway to the curve. If you park a large truck up against Crystal Lake Road, there will be issues. But, you know, it's not allowed by our ordinance, and it would not be within the site triangle.
Thank you. Since the petitioner's here, thank you for coming tonight, sir.
Okay.
I'm aware of your operation in Johnsburg and the trucks that you have and the equipment you have. You currently keep most of that equipment fairly far from the street on Wilmot Road, correct?
Well, yes, we do. We try to keep it as far back as we can,
Yeah.
but the way the properties are laid out is this property at 4102, everything is in the back of the building. All of the land for the storage of the guardrails, trucks, trailers, whatnot is all behind the building. There's very little room between the front of the building in the street to park anything other than a car there.
Most of your equipment is fairly large, and I'm assuming that the reason you'd like to have it all in the back is to secure that behind that fence.
Right.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Any other questions? Alderman Miller?
So if I look at the diagram on page 62, and I'm looking at it.
If I look at the diagram on page 62 of our packet, and I'm interpreting it correctly, the fence would be not in front of the building, it would be in alignment with the front of the building?
That is correct.
Okay, so there are going to be gates on the north and the south to get back into the parking?
Yes.
Okay. And all parking will be behind those gates? As you just said, there's not a whole lot of room in that front.
Right.
Perfect. That was my only question, thank you.
All right.
Ross, you got something else?
So employees' vehicles and things of that nature?
The employees' vehicles would be either, well, the plan is just to redo the front of the building as it is right now, to update it. It's a very old building. Move the curb back closer to the building where it comes out more towards the street right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so there would be visitor and employee parking in the front of the building, which would actually be closer to the front of the building, not where it is right now where the curb ends. And other than that, the employee parking would be on the north side, where the old fence is that we'll be taking out and putting the new fence in, inside the gated area.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments by council? Alderman Santee?
Yeah, when you look at, we received this picture this evening, and then you take a look at our packet, and page, I'll try to find that picture. 63, yeah. It looks like we're taking a picture at the front, the northeast corner of the parking lot next door. And I don't know what the footage is, but we do have well, it looks like at least a car length, maybe two, until you get to that driveway, and then you have a 2-lane or 3-lane turn-in section there, so there's a bit of a, I don't know if you want to call it optical illusion here, but you're taking it from an angle of a parking space, not necessarily where, at least the way I'm looking at this, the visual that I'm getting just by this picture angle, and where traffic goes in and out, because when you match it up to that culvert, you see that culvert that matches up right to that last space in the front corner. It just, I don't think this replicates what they're actually looking at, because I think there's more space there where you're able to see traffic. And I get it that I don't ever recall in my years living here seeing anything ever parked close to that street. I don't even know back to the George P. Friend days. I just don't recall it, because I know traffic, and everybody always just parked right to the front of that building. And there's more than enough space to double up that lot. And it just looks like, with some good conversation and be able to, look at possibly 10 to 20 feet there, that is a no parking space, so be it. It's a no parking space right in the corner. I mean, that doesn't eliminate, or I don't think that would adhere to any kind of business you're trying to run back there, because most of your trucks and everything are in the back, and, sightlines would be okay. But I'm just a little concerned about this picture and where exactly it was taken to where physical cars would be trying to get in and out of that intersection next door. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments by council? Sir, you may be seated. Thank you. I'm going to open up for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a public comment regarding this item? Oh.
Guy's coming up.
Yeah, go ahead and turn.
Hi guys,
Michael Howard.
Michael Thompson from Colin Thompson Orthodontics. I'm excited to meet my new neighbor tonight, so thanks, Dan. At the last meeting, he wasn't present, so I had some questions naturally about what the new property was going to be developed and what it was going to be used for. So being his neighbor for as long as I've been there, that picture taken is what you see when you pull out of my parking lot. You look to the left. So naturally, when you come to the end of my parking lot, you look to the left, you see traffic coming, and it's interesting. To the north of the building, you've got 4 lanes, and then to the south of the building, you've got 2 lanes. So you got lanes kind of merging. So after school or rush hour, it gets kind of be a busy intersection there. So you have to kind of think about that. You look left, you see those cars coming around the curve, and they're coming fast. And you look right to see what's going that way, and you look back left. And I've been, you have to kind of pause, like, oh God, look at that guy just stuck up on me. So my concern was just really the visual and sight lines. So that picture I was taking was just from where I would normally, kind of park before I made my left or right hand turn. And I'm all in favor for him developing and improving the building next door. I think it's overdue for that, so I'm excited about that. But my concern was, and if we're making a change, now's the time to kind of think about the visualization there. And I just took that picture because what happens is, cars and trucks over the years will kind of pull in there temporarily, park, run into the shop, and then kind of go back out. It makes sense to do what that one car was doing, and I'm not even sure who that was. It was just taken a couple weeks ago. But that's my concern, was just that if we're parking trucks too close to Crystal Lake Road there, it's going to be a safety hazard. And that's all I'm really just trying to point out. I mean, I really don't care, but that lot's been there for a long time. The curbs, the asphalt, could probably be improved at some point. But I'm just worried about the safety of my customers coming in out of my building, and I don't want to see any traffics or accidents in that regard there. So does that kind of help make sense with that picture that I provided Ross and everything like that? Does that kind of make sense? So I just thought if we're not parking cars right up against the road there, I think I have no problems with it. And talking to Dan here, he showed me his drawings. If he's going to have parking, it looks like it's going to be right up against the building. I think that would be fine. I have no problems where he's going to put his fence. I think that all looks good there in that regard. Does that help clarify that, guys?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Should we bring him up here?
I guess. Could you come up here one more time, sir? The
No, you
petitioner.
might.
No, the other
Petitioner,
guy.
please.
Your neighbor. No, the petitioner. That guy. Yeah.
Dan.
Dan. Sorry. Could you just tell us what your intended setback is for your parking off of Crystal Lake Avenue? You said you were gonna rework that area.
Can you repeat that?
How far back are you going to have parking for your customers and patrons from Crystal Lake Avenue?
We don't really have customers and patrons. We have, visitors, which would be just, somebody dropping something off, picking something up, and our employee parking, which would be on the north side of the building.
Right, but you
where
said
the
you were
old fence
also
is.
gonna have parking on the east.
But there's going to be visitor parking in front. That's the long-term plan. When we redo the front of the building, we're gonna get rid of the glass. We don't have an operation where we need a showroom such as what's there right now. So we want to redo the front, and then we'll just have maybe 4 or 5 parking spots in front where people come in if they have to drop something off, pick something up in a vehicle. That's the parking that I'm talking about in the front.
Do you see the truck in this picture? Here, come on up here.
I'm not sure.
Here, take it. This, you can have mine. Is your parking gonna be to the left of that truck?
Yes.
Okay. So,
I believe
can you get a setback?
Yeah.
Can
So
you put a
this is-
setback in
so
here that's,
The front of your building's over here. So here's the sidewalk over here. You're putting that sidewalk towards the building more.
Yeah.
Right, you're knocking some of that sidewalk out so you have more parking in front.
Right. The
So-
sidewalk that's there now, should I go back over there?
Yeah, no, sure, yeah. Could we put a conditional use on the parking that's on Crystal Lake Road? Would it hurt you if we put a
parking setback? That there's no parking
within 10 feet of that street?
That's fine. I have the plat of survey here if you wanted to take a look at it.
there's 46 feet from the front of the building to the property line.
Right.
And then an additional probably 5 feet to the edge of the street.
So you probably need
There's
15 feet.
There's 50 feet. I mean, if you want to put a setback on it, 20 feet,
Yeah, 20 feet?
20
That's what I was
feet,
thinking.
no parking within 20 feet of the
From the curb?
from the, well, 25 feet from the curb, because you've got the curb, you got 5 feet of right-of-way, then you 20 feet that we would want, or 15 feet from
We
the
don't know
property
where the
line.
right-of-way is.
We got to do it from the property line. We can't do it from because the curb could change at some point.
Right.
So from the property line,
15
I would
feet
say
from the
15
property.
feet, that's 20 feet to the road.
Okay, so it'd be 15 feet west of your east property line, no parking.
That leaves you 30 feet.
You good with that?
Yeah, that sounds right.
You good with that?
Hmm?
If not, come on back.
Pardon me?
If not, come on back.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, for now, it makes sense to impose that condition.
Yeah.
So there's no safety problem, okay?
No, we don't want to obstruct the,
Because it might be the next guy after you, since we're going forever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir, appreciate it. All right, so any other public comment regarding this item? All right, so part of the motion is to,
It's to approve the proposed, what is this, conditional use with the additional condition that there's no parking within 15 feet of the east property line.
right, so those that made the motion, you good with that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
So moved.
All right. Clerk, you got it?
Conditional use, no parking within 15 feet of the east property line.
Correct.
You can call the roll.
Alderman Strack?
Yes.
Alderman Hartley?
Yes.
Alderman Santi?
Yes.
Alderman Glad?
Yes.
Alderman McClatchy?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller?
Yes.
Thank you, council.
Good luck.
Thank you for investing in McHenry. Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for coming. All right, next item on the agenda, 6D, is a conditional use permit for self-storage facility at Bolger Court and Ridgeview Drive. I'm looking for a motion to approve an ordinance granting a conditional use permit for a self-storage facility at the southwest corner of the intersection of Bolger Court and Ridgeview Drive. I'm looking for a motion at this time. Alderman Devine?
I'll make that motion as presented.
Thank you. Second, Alderman Santee?
I will second the motion.
Thank you. Discussion by council? Alderman McClatchy?
Is the petitioner here?
The petitioner is here, yes.
He is?
Yes.
I'd like to ask him a couple questions.
Could you guys,
Calamares, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you could state your name and address for public record, please.
Yes, Peter Calamares, address is 5765 Lucerne Lane, Lake in the Hills, Illinois, 60156.
Thank you.
Great. Just,
Mike Calamaris, 4216 Weatherstone Road in Crystal Lake.
Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you. I think it's a good location. The only concern I have is, you say you're gonna plant some trees along Ridge. I'd like to see maybe that doubled, if possible. A lot more trees. From what I see, it's like every 40, 50 feet, you got a tree. If you can like berm that off a little better.
Well, we were thinking about, of course, following the guidelines, but then, probably putting in some hardscape as well, because we do not have a fence. And so, we want to make it, kind of more secure and more difficult for anyone to try to, come into the property. We do have a gate.
Right.
To the unit.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just looking at aesthetics. You know, people are gonna be driving by there, and...
Ross, have they submitted a landscape plan?
Yeah, they're in compliance with the landscaping.
We're going to have our architect put everything together, and it's,
Okay.
it's going to be beautiful.
If you can just beef that up a little bit,
Yeah,
I'd be happy.
no problem.
All right. Any other questions, comments for the petitioner? Alderman Glenn?
Yeah, it probably doesn't have to do with the conditional use, but I just curiosity, needless to say, with the investment that you're going to put into this, I'm sure you've looked at all the self-storage that we have in the city of McHenry, and do you feel that there's that much more need for it that you're willing to invest all this in there? Or do you just feel you're gonna run the best, operation around and, you're gonna grab as much of the business as possible? I'm just curious, you know.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a combination of both. I think we're gonna put out a really good product, which...
Oh, it looks beautiful, yeah.
Thank you. And, we've also seen some more multifamily going up in the area and, surrounding areas, so kind of a little bit of catch-all of that. So I don't think there'll be any shortage of demand. Seems like people accumulate more and more stuff these days, so
It's not a huge facility. It's only 23,000 square foot. And, there are surrounding, neighborhoods there that could easily utilize, the extra space. Be very convenient for them. So we're hopeful. We don't have a crystal ball, but we figure if we put together a nice product, they'll come and utilize
I just know what the amount of, facilities that have opened up recently as far as storage facilities. I'm just kind of surprised to see another big, development like this. I applaud the fact that, I'm sure, again, like I said, I'm sure you've done your homework and everything else, and you feel confident that you can be successful. Otherwise, you wouldn't be spending that kind of money to build this. But all I can say is good luck.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions, comments for the petitioner? Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Open up for public comment. Is there anyone in the public that'd like to make a public comment regarding this item? I see none. Council members, any questions, comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderman Santi?
yes.
Alderman Glad?
Yes.
Alderman McClatchy?
Yes.
Alderman Hardy?
Yes.
Alderman Stratt?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Appreciate investing in McHenry. Next item on the agenda is 6E, is a zoning map amendment and final approval for Taylor Place Apartments. I'm looking for a motion to approve an ordinance granting a zoning map amendment to RM2 High Density Multifamily Residential District and final plan approval for the Taylor Place Apartments Multifamily Residential Plan Unit Development at 812 North Mill. The petitioner is here this evening. Director Palarecki, you got anything else to say?
I just want to say that this did go back through planning and zoning for a zoning map amendment due to the fact that we changed our IDD from when they originally were approved. We went to a PUD, so we had to make that change. Other than that, planning and zoning has already unanimously approved this project, and council did a preliminary approval of it one time. I believe there's an update on where they're at with their vouchers, and you got an update, Jake, last week, right? I can share it. Could you step up? I just want the council to know where the project is at, because things are moving right now. But this is a final approval for the city council of this project. Go ahead, Jake.
Thank you. Jake Victor, nice to see you all again. This is probably my third or fourth time appearing before this body. We're really excited about the progress that we're making with Taylor Place Apartments and really excited to see it get off the ground. The general update for the group is we weren't successful with IDA, our first round submitting our application. We have retooled just very slightly, making it more competitive with the state. And plan on resubmitting that application in February with a hope of breaking ground in late 2023. That's the general update for the group.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. I am looking for a motion and a second to approve. Alderman McClatchy?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would move to approve, and I've got a question too.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Strack?
I'll second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Alderman McClatchy.
When this came up before, Alderwoman Miller brought it up about the Crestwood traffic. We were going to put signs there, no left turn or something like that. Do you remember that?
So we had a lot of discussion about how we would minimize the impact of traffic on Crestwood, with trying to create an exit or entrance over to Main Street, or at least think about some traffic restrictors on Crestwood, like an island or something, so people aren't whipping out of that parking lot and up Crestwood to get to Lillian, whatever. I don't see that on the plan, Jake. Is that something that you took to heart, or is that something that you just said, yeah, not now, or where are we at with the whole try to keep 300 cars from whipping up Crestwood?
Great question. So if you take a look at the traffic study, it was completed assuming that there would be no left turns on Mill Street, and that the cars exiting the property out of the entrance closest to West Crystal Lake would only be able to turn right. So if that wasn't added as a contingency, it certainly should be. That is our full intention, that no left turns would be made from that entrance.
So wait, let me go back to the footprint here. So you have no left turns on Mill Street coming out of the first parking lot behind the old mill and the townhouses.
Correct.
So you're going to force a right-hand turn to get them out to Crystal Lake.
Yep.
But what about the eastern exit?
The eastern exit, so the conversation at council, and correct me if I am recalling this incorrectly or we missed something here, was the ultimate decision after that discussion was to do a no left turn off of that entrance, and that was what the council was asking for. If there's more, we are happy to discuss that further.
I do believe at the end that's what was discussed. I believe that was what was discussed.
Was
no left turn at the first entrance.
Closest to West Crystal
Closer,
Road.
Yeah, close.
But what about the second entrance?
I don't think we ever discussed the second. It was more of the first.
So my residents, this is my neighborhood,
Yep.
Jake, and you and I had this conversation.
Remember,
300 plus cars, we're making a guesstimate there, and they're going to want to come out, and they're not going to want to go to the corner and try to make a left-hand turn on Crystal Lake Road to head south.
Correct.
Because that's nearly impossible.
Yep.
So the easy path is come out of your development, go left on Crestwood, and whip up to Lillian to get to the light.
Yep.
And that impacts all of the residents on Crestwood, because that is a not sidewalked, no curb, 2-lane, heavily pedestrian used property. So somehow I was expecting that we were going to do some traffic prevention and not allow them to go up, because I specifically remember talking about islands or something in the middle of the street,
Yep.
to prevent them from coming out of the eastern exit and going south on Crestwood to buzz through to get to Lillian. And I don't see that.
Yep, so, I guess we incorporated what the final decision from council was. I'm happy to, if there's an additional contingency that you'd like to add. I do believe that other entrance was discussed at that council meeting, and it was related to, the city potentially adding in a no left turn on to Crestwood coming, north or going west on Mill Street. But I'm open to suggestions. We simply incorporated what that final decision was.
Chief, do you recall this? Right.
Well, does that impact your development to do what she's suggesting?
Uh,
That would shut you down from going that direction.
To allow no residents to exit our eastern exit
To Crestwood.
and go straight towards Crestwood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the end of the world. If that's what council would like to see, we can do that. Does it impact, residents' options for which way to go with traffic? Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, they won't be able to
I
go
think
west,
it's,
right? They can't.
So the problem is you have no access other than Mill Street. So
Correct.
both of your parking lots accesses come out to Mill Street.
And Main.
we do
And
have
Main Street. That was
There's
the
a Main
addition,
Street.
that
And
was the addition
additional that we
we made,
discussed.
was we
to have
added the exit to Main Street to alleviate the fact that people were gonna try to go up that direction. That was one of the other changes that I recall us having at that meeting.
But now that we're redirecting Main Street and turning Main Street into potentially a one-lane road, or a one-way road,
But not west of
Not
Borden.
there, it's further down. There's a-
but then how are they gonna get in and out?
Borden.
Borden.
Hmm. Jake,
Mayor.
Yep,
my residents are not happy with this traffic pattern.
sure.
And representing them, I can't be happy with the traffic pattern.
Okay.
Because we know what's gonna happen. People aren't gonna go out on Main Street. We're gonna have many cars coming out onto Mill Street, and drivers, including myself,
Yep.
will find a path of least resistance to get to a light. Because there's not a light at Mill and Crystal Lake Road. And to make a left there is nearly impossible. So poor Dan, that was just here remodeling his building across the street, he's gonna have lots of people whip across, make a U-turn and head south. So, I just wish there was a better flow for traffic, 'cause I don't think that the Main Street exit is it's helpful, but not a solution, in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to hearing, from the rest of council as well, but I do think it's also worth mentioning that you have that other multifamily development adjacent to our property, that's currently making left turns onto Crestwood. So from a city perspective, it might make sense to, if you're gonna restrict our development from entering Crestwood,
Mhm.
also restricting the existing multifamily from taking a left turn onto Crestwood.
And in my perfect world, I'm sorry, Mayor,
No, you're
in my
good.
perfect world, I'd have a 4-foot wall in there with really pretty trees,
Yep.
so that you can't possibly make a left-hand turn in there. But I don't have a magic wand with that many batteries.
If I could also mention, just looking at the traffic study in front of me here, and I sent them back to the site several times just because of all the back and forth that we had
Mhm.
around traffic in the neighborhood. They came back with 8 additional cars, going on Crestwood, in the morning and 3 in the evening, in addition to what is already there, existing conditions throughout a period of an hour. And like you, I questioned, that seemed low to me. So I did send them back several times and sent them back to review their data, as traffic studies are always questioned by councils, and, I wanted to be prepared to answer that. And they said they were very comfortable with, their traffic projections. Now, as a developer, I'm not a traffic expert. I kind of rely on them and their studies to tell me what the projected impacts are gonna be. But that is what they came back with.
And I respect that. I'm not a traffic study expert, but I live there.
Yep.
And I sit on my front deck.
Yep.
And I see traffic in the morning that's avoiding Lillian to go west and cutting through the neighborhood because there's no traffic control in the neighborhood.
Sure.
So they find a path of least resistance. And knowing that what goes down the hill goes up the hill, the 8 cars of impact, it won't hold water with me, nor will it hold water with our residents.
Sure.
So I'm just voicing the opinion of the neighborhood, and I hope, I don't want to hold the process up, but I think there would be less resistance if we knew that traffic truly would be controlled and forced to go to Crystal Lake Road.
Yep.
Because that impact would be an impact on us as well.
Sure.
Because if there's a barrier or a boundary, we can't fly down Crestwood to go to Crystal Lake Road. We're going to have to go down, make the right, turn around, and go out. So that would impact us as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I think the larger impact to my residents is whipping up the hill and then cutting through one of our streets, which doesn't have sidewalks and is heavily used as pedestrians, walking dogs, pushing kids, and we're concerned.
I appreciate that, and if other members of the council have an opinion on that, I'd love to hear from them as well.
Alderman Glab, go ahead.
Yeah. From what I'm hearing, from what I've seen, I don't think the traffic issue has been resolved. I hate to see this thing die here at City Council. I think you got a good project.
Yep.
But there are a lot of concerns about the traffic and the impact to the subdivision that's south of there. I'd like to see let's put a hold on this and have them come back with a better plan as far as the traffic and what the traffic solutions could be. But also, you know, what goes up must come down. What goes out, we're talking about what goes out of that, not what goes in.
Right.
And both of those have to be looked at as far as not just the exiting of the parking lot, but what's coming back in. So you got two-way traffic going down Crestwood. So I think those are things that need to be looked at, and they need to be looked at a lot tighter. And you know, as far as engineering, it's great for engineering, but no offense, John, I know you've been in business for a long time, but engineering to me is an educated guess, because no engineer can tell you exactly what people are gonna do.
Right.
So, with that, whatever the council decides.
Thank you. Alderman Miller?
I also just want to echo that I think the project, you've been very willing to take our suggestions. We moved buildings, we moved parking, we moved garages, we moved the play space. You've been more than willing to do that. But this is what, you know, and thank you for the picture. This is what those people are going to face. I mean, this is Crystal Lake Road traffic 24/7. And it's going to be clogged. So I'm just still concerned.
So Alderman Miller, if I may, I have been the entire time we've worked through this process, I'm certainly open to your recommendations, and if you'd like to add a contingency here on not allowing the development's residents to enter Crestwood, I'm happy to do that. I do think it might be prudent, and I can't make this recommendation because it would need to be decided on the behalf of the city, to not allow left turns onto Crestwood as well, just curing the concern around traffic on Crestwood.
Well, I don't know if, you know, any of us in the room here, you're starting to throw out concessions here, and what you're not doing, and I may be out of turn here, KLA should, you know, step up here and make a recommendation with the impact on the traffic in and out. You can't just throw up a barrier and call it a day.
Yep.
Because it's too tight of an area with these, you know, people can't go this way and that. So make sure you know what you're doing before you throw out a concession. You want to do it, it's your development, but, you know, there's other impacts it'll have.
Yep, and I mean, to that point, KLOA, we did spend a ton of money having them, you know, take a close look at the traffic and the projected traffic impact, and their recommendation was that no future changes besides that no left turn on the western entrance need to be made. If council is requiring that, you know, no left turns or no entrance onto Crestwood from the development, I think we're happy to accommodate that. Sure, it limits the options for our future residents, but, KLOA, if I call them tomorrow, they're gonna say, well, our recommendation is that no changes need to be made.
Well, we don't agree with you.
Right.
You tell KOA, you need to change this, now tell us the impact.
Absolutely.
They can't do that.
No,
It's too academic.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's too academic. They can't say that. They can't say there's no impact. We just told you the impact.
Sure, no, and what I'm saying, sir, is that I hear the concern, and I'm happy to incorporate that in our development plan, if that's the request of council.
Is this the only issue with the project, is the parking? Does anyone else on behalf of the council have any other issues? Well, let's answer, go ahead.
Thank you. Now it's working. You're not getting approval on your tax credits until June, correct?
That's correct.
So you're not moving forth on anything until that happens?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so it is December. So I think we have some time here.
There will still be a development agreement to that point, that will be brought forward in front of council as the final step, and that can...
And that's I'm sorry, I apologize, 2 weeks? Is there something else coming back in 2 weeks?
There's not.
Okay.
We haven't finalized the
Okay.
development
I just want
agreement
to put that time element in there, just to...
Well, that's why I'm asking, is there any other issues with the projects? If there isn't, and it's just parking, or flow, then, staff and
Jake,
I can get together and...
do you need final approval for your application?
We do.
Which is due in...
we need final approval for our site control with, the seller.
And when do you need that by?
I think the deadline's tomorrow. I mean, we could always negotiate that if council has other...
Well, I just going back, David, to what, we had all of these parking discussions, and city council said yes to what was presented with the plan that's in front of you right now, and now we're having more issues than, we talked about the ingress, the egress, we talked about having to have the two entrances for the fire department to get in and out, we talked about an island and how we couldn't put it there because the bike path is there and the road is too narrow to put an island in. So, the left, the right in, the right out, the no left turns, those were all things that were discussed and were put into the plan that now sits before the council.
This is the same plan that was originally brought in front of you all.
This is gonna pass and she'll be shot down, I get that. He's willing to do make a concession.
I understand.
Wait, he's willing to make a concession. I just wanna make sure that concession, which is great, doesn't have an impact that you don't anticipate tonight.
So my concern with it is that, if it could pass tonight with conditions that it has to come back just to approve the parking or the
flow,
the traffic flow or whatever it is, so that he can get his approvals that he needs. But at what point, what if council's not happy with any of what moves forward?
Well, yeah, you can't do that. So you can't put him in that position. So what is it exactly you need by tomorrow?
Final site plan approval by the city. And like I said,
Okay, now we know what you need. No, that's okay. Now we know what you need. The motion's here. Let it keep going.
Chief. Go ahead, Chief.
And if this was covered in your traffic study, that's great. I just was wondering, when they did the study about putting the no left turn up from Mill onto Crestwood, did they take into account now they're forcing everybody from the Mill Street apartments to go straight, and now they're utilizing Mill and Main Street as their only intersection out?
Can you ask that again?
So if you take your eastern entrance and you make it a no left turn onto Crestwood, the only way to do that is to make everybody that exits the Mill Street apartments. How many units are in that apartment complex? Hundreds. 150.
Yeah.
Now we're overloading potentially Mill and Main Street, which is, like council said, a difficult intersection. It's the bottom of a hill.
Yep.
There's a crosswalk there with a bike path that has flashing lights and everything, and so what did the study account for that impact?
The traffic study did account for the impact of Mill Street apartments.
It did,
Yes.
and it said that it could accommodate all of those additional cars being forced out that way and not turning into Alderwoman Miller's subdivision, as some of them obviously do now.
For clarification, I just want to make sure I understand you correctly. You're asking if the traffic study looked at adding a no left turn onto Crestwood from Mill Street Apartments.
And the impact from the Mill Street, the impact from, that parking lot houses, I'm just gonna guess, 200 cars if you drive to the Mill Street Apartments. Those cars leave every day, and they either go on Crestwood or they go out to Crystal Lake Road, because they can't cut through anymore because of the concrete barricades. If you force them all to go to Crystal Lake Road, does the study account for the impact of the intersection of Mill and Crystal Lake Road for those additional cars that can no longer turn left?
Thank you for clarifying that. It does not, because that is not an existing condition. It only anticipates the no left turn from the western entrance.
Okay, thank you.
And existing conditions on that street.
Alderman McClatchy, go ahead.
Thank you. Would it be possible to retool this so everything goes out to Main Street?
No.
No?
We looked at that as part of the initial proposal. So I would like to add that I have, you know, as Alderman Miller knows, we have brought this in front of council several times at two conceptual meetings, one from Plan Commission, one in front of City Council, a preliminary zoning approval, plus additional meetings with several aldermen to incorporate changes and add feedback and really work with the council to make this proposal something that everybody was comfortable with and excited about. So I do hope that's being considered as we have this discussion. We have talked about many of these things already, and if the alderman is requesting an additional contingency be added to the site plan, then we're willing to accommodate that, especially just given the track record that the alderman and myself have had with ensuring that this proposal is designed in a way that, you know, suits the neighborhood and existing residents the best way possible.
Can we make the east an entrance only and no exit?
The eastern entrance?
Make that an entrance only and no exit out of that side? I think that's a good...
Make the eastern entrance an entrance only.
So no exit, you cannot exit the east side of the parking lot. You can only exit Main Street.
And then you're still gonna keep it a right turn only out as an only exit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a more cost-effective way to handle it.
Right.
Yeah, it would. Explain that one more time. The recommendation?
The eastern egress, ingress, make it no entrance to the development from Mill Street, but you can only exit turning right. A right out only.
Eastern one is Eastern is in only off of the east side, and you can go in and out on the west side, but when you go out, you can only turn right and west.
So ultimately, you would make it a one-way.
Right.
Correct.
Entry only on the eastern entry. And a right out only on the west access point to Mill Street.
And you can
plus
right
Main.
You do right in at that west one as well.
Right, you could come into the west entry in and out. Both direction. Alderwoman Miller, does that
I think that's
appease concern of that traffic going up Crestwood?
It helps, because if it's a right only coming out on the west side, they're forced to go to Crystal Lake Road.
Right. Correct.
So in order to go southbound, you're gonna have to come out, get on Mill, and just wait your turn to go south. And that's far enough away from Crestwood that
You might be able to-
you're not gonna buzz backwards to go south. I'm much more comfortable with that, making the east side and in.
You're pretty good.
Not sure the residents are gonna love that, your residents. But if that's a condition that would satisfy my constituents, and I think that would be helpful. The two residents that are there on the corner of Crystal Lake and Mill and the one over, they have both expressed concerns about backup and traffic. But I think they're the most impacted on Mill Street with looking out their windows, and Jay, you and I talked about that. But they're high on the hill, you know, so lighting's not gonna be an issue, so I think that could be a good solution if we can't otherwise control it.
And that would work for us. I think that's the preferable option.
Nice job, Mayor.
Nice. You caught that just
I just wanna
before
get
it
out
hit
of
the
here.
road.
No,
Before it hit the
I'm
ground.
Should've thought about this 15 minutes ago.
Or last time.
Or, yeah. Alderman Glad, go ahead.
Yeah, I still have a lot of concerns as far as, not so much the exiting as much as the people wanting to get there. I mean, if they're on Route 31, they're gonna all come down Lilly, and they're all gonna go down Crestwood to get there. So how's that gonna be alleviated? Of course, they might not be coming off of 31 there in another couple of years, because 31's gonna get expanded, and I think that's another deal for discussion, because what kind of a percentage of increase in traffic are we gonna see on Crystal Lake Road when 31's under construction? It's gonna be massive. And I think we need to look at that too. So I'm not ready to approve this. I honestly think it's a great project, but it needs to have a better ingress egress than onto Mill Street. And I couldn't support it, what I see.
Thank you. Can I get a motion, this item? 6E, for a motion, and this motion is, what's in your packet, but also includes the east, entrance being entrance only, no exit right. And then the west west and out would be right out only and right in. So you cannot make a left on Mill Street.
Correct.
That is the motion that's on the table. Right?
Is everybody clear?
Hang on.
Go ahead.
So, motion as presented with the addition of the eastbound ingress will be entry only. And the current motion already states the westbound is right only.
Correct.
So we don't need to make the only addition, Tricia, is gonna be entry only on the eastbound access point to the property.
Job, Sean.
That's my motion.
Thank you. So, motion by Alderman Strack, second?
I made the motion, but that's okay.
Did you make the motion? Oh, good job. Alderman McClatchy made the motion,
Second.
and second by Alderman Strack. All right, discussion by council? Open, public comment for this item? Any public comment? All right. What, someone have a question?
Chief has a
Chief, go
concern.
ahead.
That right out has some curb enhancement to it to promote the right out, not just the night.
Right,
That's
yeah.
your call.
Yeah,
That way you
that's-
don't have to have an officer.
Is it already in the plan that way, Jake?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
If not, it will be.
Okay.
Same thing with the entrance in. It's gotta be curbed.
So I guess my question is to Chief, how do we enforce this?
For starters, that's why I asked for the curb.
The curb will be
Make
huge.
it difficult for, the car has to go right over as they drive over the curb. That's the first barrier. People aren't gonna wreck their cars driving over a curb to get out. But again, director control, and, you know, if we have an issue, we'll go right to the property. Enforcement action is by citation for violation.
If I may, Mayor?
Yes.
We'll also have an on-site property manager, and we will instruct them to keep an eye out for that, and meet with the residents if they're not following the rules. That's a pretty big safety hazard, if they're going against traffic signals, so.
Thank you, Jake.
Any other questions, comments by council? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman McClatchy?
Yes.
Alderman Strack?
Yes.
Alderman Santi?
Yes.
Alderman Glad?
No.
Alderman Hardy?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
No.
Thank you, council. That item has passed. Item F, Jake, thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck.
Appreciate it. Item F, 6F is approval of various bid options for the development of Miller Point Park. We are gonna be having several, it seems like several
those are all good. That's a good motion, except there's to be a little addition. When we go with SF Friend for alternate one, we'll also be waiving competitive bid process in that respect. That's the motion.
Thank you. Director Hobson, go ahead.
Well, first I apologize for the long motion. It was certainly a tough one to lay out all the options on this property. But I am excited to be in front of you tonight talking about these improvements, as they're improvements that we've talked about for a long time. This Dobbins House property has long been a key piece for public access to the Fox River, starting with the dinner boat cruises, and then I would say cemented by Joey T's endeavor with the decks and wooden boat shows that they had there. And I would say including up until 2013, we as a city thought there was value when we purchased that property to secure it and secure control of it. We have worked with the Riverwalk Foundation to invest in that property, as well as we created an event central down there for some key events, such as Shamrocks the Fox, such as Light the Night. It's a property that brings people from out of town. It brings people off the river. We also hope that this is the property that will be the future home for the McHenry Riverwalk shops, an economic development endeavor that we're partnering with the Chamber and the high school on. We searched kind of far and wide to be able to find that home that would be just the right fit and feel like this was the spot for that, which is where we started, was just that base bid of where the shops themselves would go. And then it was just as important as we looked at how the whole property plays out and how the events are staged and happen down there, the continuity between the McHenry Riverwalk shops and what else would happen at that park. As we did that, the plan obviously expanded to what you have before you. The best way that we could tackle bringing that to you was then create alternates. While it does convolute it somewhat, the breakdown of the alternates, I feel like, is something that actually helped us in terms of bidding and being able to secure the vital elements of what we think will make this project successful, both as the McHenry Riverwalk shops and the park itself. The Riverwalk shop itself, Riverwalk area itself came in as a base bid of $1,018,000. Staff, as well as working with the McHenry Riverwalk Foundation and with Hitchcock Design Group, we analyzed each alternate and looked at what we thought would make this the most successful project, while trying to, again, save some dollars for the city or look at items that might be considered a more of a luxury type element. As with any event central area or a key park area, having the washroom was a key element that we thought should be included, as well as the site work. Alternate 2 was the site work. If we lay that foundation for whatever we do in the future, we put in the electrical, we level the park out, particularly where there's a large kind of hill area, mound area, where the Joey T's restaurant used to be, the Dobbins House used to be. That would also include all new sidewalks on the property. It really creates that continuity that we're looking for. So you don't just develop one end at the end of Riverside Drive, which is actually part of the park, and then the rest is kind of the eyesore that's off to the side. Alternate 3 was the pavilion installation. I think as we've seen the park in use, the pavilion is how we laid it out. We thought that the gazebo would play to that blue stone circle, that crowds might gather in that area, until you sit on that blue stone circle in the middle of summer and the sun's pretty much beating down on you. It's not the most attractive. So the park is actually flipped around. And when we had our Sunday afternoon concerts, they've played back towards the park with people sitting on the grass. The same for Light the Night. Now Shamrocks the Fox is a little bit different because it's in March and it's 9 degrees like it was last year. We have a heated tent. But putting a pavilion over the Bluestone Circle now creates a stage or an amphitheater type element that we also wanted to make sure that was high. It's a 14-foot high element, so that when you're in the park, you maintain the visuals out to the river, and when you're on the river, you can see what's happening in the park. That was a key element. And I think it's important to mention that the pavilion itself, there's a a donor that is willing to pick up that price. At this point, I don't have any signed paperwork from them. But they're more than willing to pick up not just the price of the element itself, but also a good portion, if not all, of the installation cost there. So that could be a donation up to $300,000 in relation to that. That's a donation that will be finalized before the end of the year, before the end of this calendar year. So that was one that we recommended inclusion on, as well as alternate 4. And the big reason for alternate 4 was because of the mechanicals. The mechanicals will be housed in the washroom building, and we didn't want to ever have to go back in and tear things up. It's an element that we feel we're trying to find a sponsor for between myself, staff, between the Riverwalk Foundation, to find a sponsor for the element itself. The other alternates that I'll speak on that are not included, alternate 5 was the field turf area, the AstroTurf area, where that large hump is right now. That was one that we felt like it's probably something that should give. It's a little bit of a luxury. It would be nice to have. That area is also an area that we could flood in the winter time. It's easier to do when you have gravel underneath that as opposed to a turf area, but natural grass is just as friendly to kids or families to play on as a turf area might be. Alternate 6 was where the mulch and the trees are right now. We had looked at, as alternate 6, at cleaning those up, installing some sitting areas adjacent to each of the fire globes that would mimic the large stones that are out on the point themselves. Again, that's something that we felt down the road we could probably piecemeal, do something along that lines and add that, so to remove that. The last element was the actual repaving or redoing of the parking lot itself. All of our construction will be staged. Everything we do will be staged out of that parking lot. A good portion of that concrete parking lot will be taken out, and so the portion that you have left there that remains as alternate 7 is in fairly decent shape. Enough that it's concrete. It's not brand new, obviously, but it's something that we feel like we can live with. We can restripe. We certainly did not want to forego additional parking opportunities there. Parking's always at a premium as we look to continue to develop downtown. We were able to expand across the way to the west with the parking lot, but never want to take a chance to give up too much parking. But it's certainly something we can address in the future. So that alternate 7 was also omitted. The last 2 things that we included into the motion were site amenities: picnic tables, garbage cans, benches, those type of things. And then, because of the complexity of the project as a whole, Hitchcock Design Group, a construction observation contract, was included for $25,000 as a part of the motion. The only other caveat that I did want to bring to your attention is, I guess, as we look at the breakdown, Stuckey was recommended for the base bid, the shops area. Alternate 2, all the site work and mechanicals. Alternate 3, the pavilion installation. And alternate 4, the spray pad installation. The actual elements themselves, the pavilion and the spray pad, the city would purchase through a national purchasing cooperative. We've utilized that before to purchase our current spray pad. It ensures that we get the best price. It also ensures that we're not getting a markup from purchasing that from a general contractor, that then we pay a premium on for them buying it for us. So the spray pad itself and the pavilion we purchased by the city, as with the site amenities. The last thing would be alternate 1, the washroom. I feel like I need to talk about that just a little bit. In that, originally in the bid, we had looked at buying a prefab building. We had Romtech as a manufacturer of prefab washrooms that is a pretty common or national seller of those. That element itself priced out at $230,000 to $250,000. What was included in the bid was just the installation of that element, and that was another $230,000. We saw what those estimates were coming in at, and we contacted a local firm, SF Friend, who actually did the washroom improvements at Veterans Memorial Park for us, as well as the installation of the pavilion at Veterans Memorial Park. Had asked them for just a quote to install and build that based on the plans that were provided. They came back with a $297,000 quote. saving us an estimated $160,000 or just over $160,000. And so it's certainly somebody that we trust. They've done a lot of work for us, and felt like that was a safe option to go in that terms for that alternate. There will be some continuity that we'll have to work through. Again, we'll lean on Hitchcock Design Group to work with them. But are really excited. We're excited about. I'm excited as a McHenry Riverwalk Foundation. Excited to have this before you. We're excited about this plan and how it turned out from the original start. That was a little bit piecemeal to a site that I think we're all very proud of, and the continuity. And you see the possibilities of how this could be for our future. Now I've talked enough, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Bill. All right, so I'm looking for a motion to approve 6F as presented. Alderwoman Miller?
I'll make the motion to approve 6F as presented.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Harding?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Discussion by council on this item? Alderman McClatchy?
Thank you. Good job, Bill. I think it's a good plan. I think we're heading in the right direction, and you're spot on with Friend and Son. They did a great job over at Veterans Park, and I'm sure they'll do a good job there. I'm for everything but the splash pad. That is not the area for a splash pad in my eyes. You know, we sell alcohol right there, and a couple times I've been down there, it's packed, and I can't see a splash pad fitting in there anywhere.
So I'll just mention this particular one is not what you see at Fort McHenry. This is not a playground. This is basically a pavilion where the water jets shoot out. It's a pavilion that we have control over. If you did have a large event, you turn it off, and you'd walk right over it, and you'd never know it's there. You might leave the lights on for an ambiance type element, but it's one of those elements that also softens a lot of hardscape. It's the water jets that just shoot out of the ground once that button is pushed and activated. So it's not, when you think, I just want to make sure that we're clear when I say spray pad, it's not the Veterans Memorial Park, the flower or the bucket or whatever that falls down on your head. It's a flush to the ground that you would never know is there until you push that button and walk through it.
I still don't think it's the right area for that kind of kids party atmosphere right there. The one out in Whispering Oaks, perfect place for it. This ain't the place. So I know it's part of the motion, and let's hear from some of the other aldermen, see what they want to do.
Thank you. Alderman Strack?
Bill, can I just have you look at, and I know, Ross, can you put the...
Yeah, you got a page number?
153, I believe. Bill, help me understand.
Sure.
I wasn't here, I don't believe, when this original plan was put together. So as Ross is putting this up, the area, can you explain to me where the turf would go, and how large a space that turf is, and how that would impact being included now, maybe in lieu of the splash pad?
Sure.
Cost-wise.
So the easiest, let's start with the description of where it's at. If you've obviously been down there, you know the large grass area that's there right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially that exact same area, almost to that same footprint, leveled out with a curb around it, again, with the idea that in the winter you could flood that.
So the raised area,
correct,
we're talking about west side of the park, so like southwest corner of the park.
Correct.
How large a space are we talking about? That whole corner?
It's pretty close to that whole corner.
So in essence, we would be, so for example, Light the Night, we had food trucks parked in there, we had all of that going on in that space.
Right.
So that whole area would be turf, and we could turn that into a skating rink easily in the winter months.
That's how we're set up. The idea is we're regardless of if it's turf or grass, where we want to put a curb around that, a concrete curb around that, so that you could put a liner down and flood it.
Is it easier to facilitate being turf to turn it into a rink?
Yes.
Okay, next question for you, sorry for my multiple questions. The total cost of the splash pad to be included, the purchase price of the pad itself is somewhere in line of
59,000, yeah.
plus another 82 in infrastructure?
Correct.
I think I would love to trade the turf for the splash pad along with Alderman McClatchy's concerns. Not that I don't want it there, but I think if we're going to spend this kind of money, I see more value in turning the ice skating rink in lieu of a water feature when we're on the water.
Right.
My 2 cents. Thank you.
Alderman Devine?
I have concerns about the splash pad as well, but I think we need something for the kids there. Our family spend a lot of time down there, so why not a playground? It'd be cheaper than a splash pad.
It wouldn't be cheaper than
No.
a splash pad. It would not.
Really?
Really.
Okay. It wouldn't have to be huge.
Just as a renovation right now, we're doing a renovation at North Oak, where we're leaving the uprights in place and just renovating the playground. Just that element is $60,000. A new playground that we just put in from the ground up out at Galway Park in Legend Lakes, that was closer to $160,000. And then we had donated concrete for the curbing and the sidewalks there.
Okay. But a splash pad, how much use we gonna get out of that? It's during the warm weather, or is it a fountain? I'm confused.
It's more of
a fountain.
It's more of a fountain, but it's intended for it's just exactly that. It's the families or the kids that are going to run through it and hit the button and run through it. But I certainly appreciate all the comments. That's why it was important to bring this before you. But yeah, it's intended for that. And then to your point of, the river being right there, we don't really want them to go to the river. We want to keep the kids more internal. And that's the idea of the turf area, to create a spot for them when they're down at the shops. The shops are certainly going to draw families down there, as well as our events do. But that turf area is the place for them to sit up or play. The spray pad was just the element that kind of matches a lot of the hardscape, with an element that softens it and reinforces kind of that water feel to it. So that was the justification of that.
Okay. I guess I didn't know the cost of playgrounds.
Yeah,
well, crazy.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Miller?
Although I love the fountains and I love the spray pads, I take part in them because I have a golden retriever. I respect that it probably isn't the best use of our money if we're trying to create a new, exciting venue. The conversations I've had about the ice skating rink or ice skating ribbon, because I know that's changed along our conversation, if it's going to be a rink or a ribbon, people are excited about that because we don't have anything like that. If they don't want to skate on Macomb Lake because nobody's shoveling it and making it smooth, we can control this environment. So I think the turf idea is a better idea with the potential for the skating rink. And frankly, everywhere that has spray pads, they all complain about maintenance, and it goes down, and we have to tear it up, and we have to fix it. And I think this is a park that we're going to have to reconsider dog-friendly availability, because all of the rest of the parks in the city are no dogs.
That's true. This is one adjacent to the Riverwalk. You do see dogs walking along the Riverwalk quite often, and so it's one that they walk through consistently.
And if the intention is to drive traffic here, we're going to have mini shops, we're going to have other opportunities. I think we have to reconsider where are people coming from. There's going to be, again, pedestrian traffic. And if they have their dog on a leash, it's very inconvenient to say, hey, Sue, hold my dog while I go get a thing. So I think that's one of the considerations that we're going to have with our park system soon.
This ice skating rink here, is it going to be like a hockey rink, or is this like just ice skating? because I know we have other ice rinks in town, so I mean, that's why I don't,
We have.
because I could see a game breaking out here, and it's probably not the right spot for a hockey game, but.
It's not a spot that we would put hockey goals up. We have one other rink in town, that's at Fox Ridge Park. We
Right.
do separate that one area into two separate, one that has hockey goals and one that's more of a free skate.
Okay, and those are the only two in town.
Those are the only two
Okay.
in town. We no longer flood what was Friendfield, the tennis
Right.
courts, the basketball courts. Once we redid those, we've paid $27,000 to resurface those courts with a nice paint. As soon as you put that liner over top of it, it wears that down almost immediately. But it did make it easier to to put the liner down over top of the pavement and flood it, and as opposed to, we do have to wait a little bit longer with the natural grass at Fox Ridge. Just some of that, it takes a little bit longer for that heat to get out of the ground, for the ice to freeze.
I guess I'm next. Okay, so Bill, you mentioned about a potential, probable $300,000 donation towards this whole project?
Probable.
Okay, and
I would say probably stronger than probable, but until it's signed, we'll say probable.
is there other money that's soon to be donated that will be going towards this project?
We did receive $20,000 from the Kennewood Riverwalk Foundation. That check was presented coincidentally today, but John had met with Keith Johnson, who has made a donation over the last 2 years for the inclusion of seat walls on the back side of where the pavilion would go on the Bluestone Circle. There's 2 grass areas right now. We had presented this plan to him, or a plan to him, that always included those seat walls, and that was one that he really liked. That it gives us some vertical element and again some presence from the river. So over the last 2 years, he split that donation up into $10,000 each. John just received that recently and presented that check to us today. In addition, we'll have the Rise Up money that will be coming our way.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, I just did have a phone call this afternoon, and Bill and I have been discussing this. There is another donor, and they are interested in, of all things, the splash pad. I thought I'd just throw that out.
That's news to me.
Well, we talked about who, and
right.
Now they called again, so we'll be talking about it in the next week or so.
Mayor.
I took it.
Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I wanted, Okay. So some of this money, we're looking at potentially a little bit more than $500,000 in donations coming in for this project. Until Mr. Smith just mentioned that there was potentially another one, but someone that's focused on just a pad. What on alternate 5? Do you have an estimate about that artificial turf?
$230,000, roughly $220,000. That's what I was just trying to find. I was trying to pay attention, but I don't want to. That's included as alternate 5 in the bid.
Okay.
I'll dig that up for you, but it's roughly $220,000 for that element.
Okay, and then when you gave a second number with this the spray pad, it's $59 just for the product.
Correct.
And it's another $82,000 to build it.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'd like to see the turf just because I think it's not a maintenance free, but very easy to take care of in regards to potentially with grass, and there will be a lot of people seating and kind of enjoying the daytime and the music, and I think that can be useful for both family friendly. I also I know it's unique and maybe something we don't normally do, but bringing friend in to to do some of this work, and they did do some excellent work at the Veterans Park location. You know, I like that that's part of this, that they're part of this project. You know, one of the things that just really concerned me was, okay, this is a general, as we're being presented tonight, this is from general fund. Now, can we set this up that funding can be then diverted into payments from TIF funding with, you know, over a certain period of time where, yes, we're general fund, I don't know how to explain this best, but general fund would float a loan for a few years,
that's the best way to explain
and then we just go from one fund to the other, but now we're looking at when the project is complete and is completely paid for, it's coming through TIF funding. Could you explain that a little bit?
It's a public improvement, so TIF dollars could be reallocated once we realize those funds, especially in lieu of the most recent news that's a very viable option, that whatever we expend from general fund dollars could be repaid by TIF dollars in the future as a public improvement.
Would we be comfortable as a council and comfortable as a, I don't know how to put this, as accounting, that's in the motion? I mean, can we put a time frame into that, where it's from the money's in general fund, but it will be paid back at a given period of time, you know, through TIF funding?
Poke me or stab me. I'm not sure which one you're going to do just yet.
Exactly.
I mean, I would be nervous to do that, considering the fact that we've got other developments that we're working on that will be taking the TIF as well.
That would be my only concern, and I'll let you talk in a minute. I'm sorry. My only concern would be that as we try to attract development, that's the key thing for the TIF dollars, as well as the completion of, you know, the Riverwalk that we've invested in. We're moving forward with that project, but with the extension of 12 years beyond the 2025, it's, you know, pretty safe to say that there will be money there, especially as we encourage development. Anything to add to that?
No, I mean, my only recommendation is if we want to use TIF dollars for this, would to just be to do it up front, just because we have had other projects that we were going to maybe use TIF for funding down the road, and it becomes difficult to keep track of what we're going to use TIF dollars for.
The only caveat to that, obviously, is two things. Number one, the TIF, I think, only has roughly $590,000 of a balance right now. And the second thing would be, we are in the process of putting together engineering plans for Phase 4 of the Riverwalk between Pearl Street Bridge and Route 120 Bridge. The goal, ideally, being that we put those out to bid early 2023, and that we're looking potentially for construction. If we use that fund balance, or a portion of that fund balance right now, it wouldn't cover, number one, it wouldn't cover the overage.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, it would defer the Riverwalk project.
Sure, and the only thing I'll follow up with is that Phase 4 is higher on my level in regards to TIF before this, but understanding that I would like to look at that, or like to have that down the line where, like I said, we float it for a certain amount of time, and then when the TIF is there to, you know, that we can then, you know, take the funding from one column to the other. That's all I have for right now.
The actual bid number for the turf area from Stuckey was $204,000.
204?
204.
That was complete?
Yes.
Thank you.
And why don't we make that just where it's a possible reimbursement from the TIF rather than a mandatory? That way we can do it down in the future if it's available.
Right.
Okay. Another thing I want to bring up is all this discussion about the splash pad. Is this something that you thought of yesterday? We've been talking about this for over a year. And now all of a sudden you come up with the plan and nobody wants it over there. I don't get it. Why didn't somebody say something 6 months ago or 8 months ago? now all of a sudden, everybody's got concerns about that. You know, I hate to say it, but I mean, if these things come up and people talk about it and nobody says anything, and then staff takes and creates a design, why do we want to start picking away at it afterwards, after the whole design's done and everything else, when it was known for a long time that there was intention to put one of those in there?
Yeah, I just as a reference point, I mean, just for the whole council, Alderman Glad, but just for the whole council, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but we had estimates around $750-800 for the project.
For the base area.
Okay.
When we first started, it was just the tiny shops and the development of that.
Yeah.
Then the plan expanded.
Sure, and so we're coming in with some expansion, and the estimated total number today is 1.7?
The project itself, 2.2.
2.2. Okay, so it's just, I mean,
including the budget amount, the total price for the project.
Sure.
As it's presented in the motion is 2.2. 2.27 something.
And then, but on the other hand, I mean, I wanted to make sure for record here is that we have some unbelievable donations. So I mean, that's making it viable or more viable to look at this thing. It definitely is, I don't know how to say it, a cornerstone or just a focus area. And with Phase 4 coming through, making sure that gets built out next year, now you do have a connection from the northern point of the Riverwalk to follow it all the way back into Miller Point and then all the way over to Green Street. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions, comments by council?
This motion, is it for the whole ball of wax? Because you've got alternate 1, 2, 3, 4, 7.
So as it's presented in the motion, it's Stuckey would be awarded the base bid, alternates 2, 3, and 4. We reject all bids, all competitive bids, and accept the quote from SF Friend for alternate 1 for the construction of the washroom building. It would then be, it would also include us, permission from council for us to purchase the pavilion and the spray pad. This is what's in the motion currently, the spray pad. We would do that through a National Purchasing Alliance cooperative. Purchase site amenities for $20,000 that the city would purchase, and then a construction observation contract with Hitchcock Design Group for $25,000.
Why did we have it down here as alternative 2, 3, 4? Why wasn't it just one motion?
It's alternate 2, 3, and 4 because when we went out to bid with it, we weren't exactly sure. We wanted to break it down so that we could pick and choose for the exact reason. We knew I didn't want 7. I didn't want the parking lot mixed in. I didn't want an element like alternate 6, the mulch area, what that might be, which it's a little bit more of a luxury. It's something we can come back and do later. When we talked about it, we wanted to be able to pull those elements out to be able to more easily present what each element would cost, so that you can see. Sometimes the numbers get all mixed together and it's hard to break down what did the turf area cost or what did the washroom cost. This breakdown very clearly shows what each element or the inclusion of each element would mean to the project. That's why it was broken down into alternates.
But you're talking about the splash pad, right?
Yeah, right.
You can't break out the splash pad because if you broke that out tonight, it changes your design. You'd have to come back. You could break it out.
You could break it out. We would say, you could say, no, if it's council's wishes, we can pull out alternate 4. You could say we want to pull out alternate 4, we want to add alternate 5. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you could say we want to include all of the alternates. for me, for my presentation to you was to try to be as budget conscious of the elements that I thought were vital to the project. That's the way I tried to address it.
Okay, thanks.
Alderman Strack.
Bill, could we add the splash pad element if we receive donation for it, and then add element 5?
That would be, if that's council's desire, we certainly could.
That's
And
something that we could...
so my only question, I guess, back to you then, would be to what level? Would the city pay for the installation of the element, and they would buy the $60,000 actual spray pad itself? Or would council say, we only want element 4, we only want the spray pad if they pick up the $140,000, the element and the installation? Similar to element 3, which is what we think is going to happen. The element, even though we're paying for it up front, and that's included in the motion, that donation will account for both of those elements. The element being the actual purchase and the installation. The only thing that we would have to make the decision on is it would be if we say no to the spray pad, it would be one that we would probably not ever do. We would never come back and put it in because we wouldn't want to tear up all new construction to put in the utilities to get this done.
That was my next question, is if we leave the spray pad, how does that affect us later coming in to possibly put the turf in at a later date?
The turf area would be a little bit easier to deal with because the concrete curb will already be around it. There'd be excavation, and you'd just put down the proper plywood or protection to be able to dig that out, and then add the gravel and add the turf on top of it. Whereas you're not tearing up sidewalks, you're not trying to install water lines and things of that nature. And I guess that was how I approached it, a thing that could potentially affect the future versus an element that is easier to put in after the fact.
Got it. Thank you.
Alderman Miller.
So in hindsight, after all this discussion, I think the plan is beautiful, and that was my thought process. You know, you can't put the spray pad in after the fact nearly as easy as you can do surface reconfiguration. So if we potentially have a donor, it would be a lovely item to have. But again, I was allocating monies and saying, oh gosh, we could maybe carve that out. But it's lovely, and I think people love it. You know, when you go to Chicago and you see the dancing water thing, people are mesmerized. They just sit there for hours, including myself, and watch water squirt out and splash down. Because really that's what this is. So I guess I love the plan the way it is, and as long as we're all working in the forward direction of if we can get a sponsor and get it done and still complete the Riverwalk, this is going to be amazing. So I thank you for the plan. It's beautiful.
So I wanted to kind of say, so the splash, I wouldn't say pad, but water pad or whatever, is something that I would like to see done, personally. I think just having a water feature down there is great. It's not where kids can, they can get in their shorts and just get wet or whatever, but it's not that type of splash pad. I think having it lit up at night with water going, I just think that gives that entire point a little more classy look to it. And also I think we're very good at getting donations. I think the city of McHenry, by far, in my opinion, beats any other community around that gets donations to get projects done. I mean, I could be wrong, but I am pretty certain. We've had about $1 million worth of parking lots done at very little cost to us. We've had tons of other projects, splash pad, and I think with relationships like John was saying, that someone's interested, my recommendation is let's get this done, but I am going to commit to working to get donations to help pay for that pad. And I will do that. Not through Rise Up, but getting through businesses and relationships, and through John. We know a lot of people that want to participate and want to help the city. But I think this whole project, I like the whole vision of the entire point. That's my opinion. But I will commit to definitely working hard over the next year to get donations and so forth, to help this pad get included in the motion.
You know anybody that likes artificial turf too?
No, right, yeah, that'd be, But that's my opinion. I think, I know it's costly, but I think the whole project would be an amazing project. Yes, you can get rid of the water portion, and it's still going to be an amazing project. But I think that does bring an opportunity for not only kids, but families to sit around there and just listen to the water. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think that's just the whole, I think we got to do the whole thing, in my opinion. Alderman Miller?
And you bring that up, that it could be its own event, and that was exactly where my marketing mind went to, for the Riverwalk Foundation to do a fire and water idea or a fire and ice idea. We've got the globes down there already, which bring people just to see them. That could be expanded and include the water feature as the, whatever we want it to be. So, right. Yeah, I think it could be a kind of a cool destination if you go down there for nothing else.
Right.
Just to go see the bouncing water and fire.
And I think having an ice skating rink, we've talked about this for 4.5 years, 5 years since I've been in, we need an ice skating rink underneath the pavilion I got a lot of heat for that. So we decided to go away from that. But I think this is a perfect spot to have an ice skating rink, families, lighting above it. Be a good thing for the city for sure. So, yes. Oh, John, go ahead.
I've learned by now not to talk after the mayor says his last words, but...
Oh, that's fine.
I just wanted to make it clear for the council what transpired, because this is such a complex project. So it started with the tiny shops, the Riverwalk shops. Okay, great. And, everybody started working diligently towards that, but we rapidly discovered, okay, well, we want a bathroom. Okay, so you have the bathroom there. Very logical. Then, all of a sudden, we put up somewhat of a barrier on the first phases of the construction to get to the rest of the property to do any construction work. We started thinking about, okay, in the Riverwalk shop area, we need drainage, we need storm sewer. Okay, well, let's see, we got this big area. Well, the storm sewer actually has to come through that area. We need to construct some of that storm sewer. We need to construct utilities, electric, gas, where they're going to go. For instance, if we do have a splash pad, that comes out of the actual bathroom area, the water that feeds it. So if we eliminate the splash pad, and I understand why you want to do that, right now at this point, we would still have, it still has to be designed in its entirety, so we know at what depth to bury that water pipe to the splash pad area, and what locations we put the electrical, and what locations we run it for, future lighting and things like that. So it all had to be designed at once, and that's, credit to Bill and the way they came up with different alternatives on this, and that's why you see all these different alternatives, because we knew the money would be really tight on this project. So I'm just trying to explain how we arrived at this big overall plan, when really the intention was just to start with the Riverwalk shops. So I hope that clarifies a little bit.
Thank you, John. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. I forgot who made the motion because it's been a while. But with that motion, do those council members make that motion with all these alternatives, as mentioned?
Sandy has a question.
Go ahead.
So are we putting any kind of donation stipulation on this motion in regards to, there is going to be, we have as record already, we have record of 300,000 and 200,000. Do we put any other stipulations about money for the spray pad on there? And I don't know if it could be done that way, but is it something that what John just brought up at his statement? Is that something that can be plumbed in or stubbed in, and then when it's ready to go, that the platform is then installed, where, you know, it's done in 2 phases, if it has to be done in 2 phases. But it sounds like there's money in, I mean, I'm more positive towards it. It sounds like there's money there for it, potentially. So do we put that stipulation in there? And I don't know how the other council members would feel about that, knowing that that's probably been the, well, in what I'm hearing is the one thing that may, you know, is a major concern with some of the council members in regards to moving forward with all of these alternatives as the way Bill presented them.
I don't know how you put that in a motion. I mean, it's really difficult to do that. And in my opinion, you know, I don't want to seem like a liar saying, you know, hey, you know, don't put it in the motion because I'm not going to do it, or we're not going to work hard to do that. I just think that the council has to know that we've proven ourselves time and time again, from business leaders in the community to staff members and myself, that we've proven that. Well over, what, $1.5 million in projects. So,
right. Well, keep in mind 2 other huge donations that, I mean, it just to your statement, $1 million for the QNet Bridge for the first phase of the Riverwalk was donated. Now that $1 million went to the Riverwalk Foundation. The Riverwalk Foundation, in turn, then used that $1 million to build 2 phases of the Riverwalk for us. So it's same money, but, you know, $2 million worth of donations that came back to us.
and a lot of times when you put a project like this out, and Northwest Herald's here today, once you put that out, community members want to be engaged in that project, and that's when you get the calls, like, hey, I want to be involved in this. As a business owner, I want to donate, or I want to be part of this. That's where you get that engagement. I think we're really good at that too, is engaging the public and the community members at large to really get involved in this. So my personal opinion is don't put it in the motion, or just take it out. It's one or the other.
Right.
There's a motion and a second. Have you gone public comment yet?
No. I just wanted to make sure that no one wanted to make a motion change. Alderman Miller and Harding.
Mayor, could we take a vote on this, and then possibly if it doesn't fail, if it fails, then somebody can make a motion in another direction. Otherwise, let's just take the vote on this already.
Well, I'm going to go to the public, so, but the motion, you want to stay as is, folks. Public comment, is there anyone from the public, I can't say public tonight, that would like to make a public comment regarding this item? See none? All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Harding?
Yes.
Alderman Santi? Alderman Santi?
Yes.
Alderman Glass?
Yes.
Alderman McClatchy?
No.
Alderman Strack?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
No.
Awesome. Thank you, council. This
Thank
is
you.
going to be an amazing project, and I'm excited about it. Bill, thank you very much for all the work you put into this. And the TIF, thank you. That took a lot of people to get that all done.
Hard work by a lot of people.
And we'll get into thanking those people.
Can I back up what you said a couple of minutes ago? I don't know if you know this, but everything in the gazebo and Veterans Park was donated. Once the word gets out, people will donate, so
Yep.
get that out.
So, and John, thank you for all you do. All right, this will be a great project. So thank you. All right, moving on to next item here is 6G, semi-annual review of executive session minutes pursued to the Illinois Open Meetings Act. A motion to pass a resolution approving the destruction of any executive session recordings that exist more than 18 months, and for the release of certain minutes, and to keep certain minutes confidential. You don't have to.
Sure, so
go ahead.
over the last 6 months, we've had closed session meetings, discussing either litigation or property, acquisition. None of those have been resolved yet, so we need to approve those and we need to keep them closed. And there were some meeting minutes we said we wanted to keep closed from prior that we still need to keep closed because those issues haven't been resolved either. So that's all there is to it.
Thanks, Monty.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a motion. Alderman Strack?
As presented.
Second. Alderman Santee?
Second.
Discussion on this item by council? Public comment on this item? Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is staff reports. Is there any other staff reports that were not sent out to council? See none? Mayor's report, I wanted to inform everyone that we will not be doing the 2023 Rise Up Foundation Music Fest this year, or next year. We're going to hold off a year and take a break, and hopefully I can get my life back a little bit and lose weight and everything else I got to do. But I want to take a little break and give my volunteers a break, too. It took 375 volunteers. It's a lot of work, but we're going to do some other things during the year that won't take up, police services and stuff like that, and we'll still raise funds for the city. So I just wanted to publicly say that. So other than that, city council comments? Alderman Santee?
Congratulations on 2 very good years of the Rise Up.
Thank you.
I'm a volunteer and took a lot of time out of my schedule. We all have schedules, but it's very complex. It's even though I'm there volunteering, I see it from a distance and talk to some of the guiding lights that you had with you, people in the know, and do those large presentations. And I know they put together a lot of extra time and effort. So it's noted by this person. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other council comments? Alderman Miller?
I just want to once again thank Director Hobson and Director Strange. Their communication and their efforts to make our town the best have not gone unnoticed. Your leaf issue, obviously it's resolving itself. Thank you for staying on top of it. And to both of you, town has never looked better. It is absolutely amazing now that it gets dark at like 4 o'clock and everything goes on. It looks beautiful. So thank you both. It's a lot of effort and it's noticed.
Thank you.
Any other city council comments? Yeah, right. All right. Bill, go ahead.
I just wanted to take a moment to, number one, thank you all for your support, including all of our staff. It was a lot of hard work, but really a big thank you also should go out to all the taxing bodies, District 15, District 156, MCC, the Fire District, the Library District, the Township Road and Bridges, the Conservation District, all of those boards in McHenry County. All of those boards provided a letter of support that enabled us to be able to, so those partnerships enabled us to be able to get the state legislature to approve our TIF request. So a big thank you to all those taxing bodies and their boards and their letters of support that helped us.
Agreed. Takes an army. What's that? Yeah. All right. Any other city council comments? We're good? All right. We're going to go into executive session. We're going to come out of executive session probably in 15, 20 minutes, and we're just going to adjourn the meeting, just so you know. So I'd ask all of you to please step out of the room as we go into executive session. I'm looking for a motion to enter executive session. Please call the roll.
We have to make a motion, right?
Need a motion first.
Need a motion first.
I'll make a motion.
Alderman Strack.
Oh, I guess
Alderman Santee for a motion.
I'll make the motion for executive session.
Second.